I'd like to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. Kind of a quick agenda this evening. Assignment for request for council action. We have 18157 budget amendments, 18158 then and now Wilbert Company, 18159 then and now Klein's Rural Truck and Auto Body, 18160 accept donation from Medina Sunrise Rotary for the pavilion, 18161 increase PO 18058 Davis Tree Farm, 18162 Fitness Room Edition MCRC, 18163 fiscal year 16 chip rehab 240 East Union Street, 18164 purchase of a new body and cruiser camera system for the police department, and 18165 expenditure for Motorola Solutions P25 digital radio system for the police department. 18157 budget amendments. We have I guess 18157, the first one. Keith, for you?
This came out of the budget hearing the other day. You wanted a reduction. We couldn't do actually as much as you wanted to because part of that's encumbered, but this is reducing that line that we pay the prisoners out of for.
Okay.
This was actually the carry forward from 2017 into 18.
Mm-hmm.
We decided we didn't need it. $5,000.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next one we have is 2018-033 fireworks donation. We have new ones?
No, but we have the money.
I thought maybe this was November already. We were getting the fireworks ready for the Candlelight Walk.
You figure with all the lights we have on the buildings,
We don't need
nobody will
fireworks?
see 'em.
So this was $2,500 each from the two townships.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 18158 then and now for Wilbert Company.
This is in fire. I think it has to do with that wall that we took down, but I'm honestly not sure, but they already had the work done.
It does say something about the wall at the fire station.
So I think it's from when they drove through and.
The light tower, wall collapsed
This
on
is
light tower.
actually the light tower on a vehicle,
Yeah.
rescue number 6.
Everybody like that?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And then and now for 18159 for Klein's Rural Truck and Auto Body. Keith?
This one I do know about. Tuck, and you know about this. We actually had a PO last year, but it got closed at the end of the year, and then now we got the invoice, and we don't have a PO.
Oh,
And it was just as much our responsibility for not securing that PO in 2018. The truck was delivered to this contractor in November, and he didn't finish the work until summer, and thus the reason for the new PO, so.
Move to approve.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. 18160, accept a donation from Medina Sunrise Rotary for the Parks Department. Jansen?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a project that's been in the works for a little while. Worked with the Medina Sunrise Rotary, Mayor said in one of the meetings that we had, and they were looking for relatively smaller projects that they could contribute towards and apply for a district grant from the Rotary. We helped them with the materials that they needed to apply for that grant, and they received it. So the donation will be for $7,300 will be to renovate our pavilion at Reagan Park, the lower pavilion that's used quite often by Medina Youth Baseball and Northrop Elementary. So this is kind of a two-part project. The donation doesn't cover the entire project. There are going to be some parks funds involved to see it through to completion. But part of their grant requirement was that they would pay the vendor directly for this their portion of the renovation, and then we're going to have a service project workday with members of Rotary to help finish up the project. So we were able to bump this pavilion renovation up due to the contribution from the Sunrise Rotary.
Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 18161, increased expenditure for Davis Tree Farm Forestry. Jansen?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is to increase our existing PO by $10,000. for our fall tree planting. We have about 50 trees identified and selected for installation this fall. We'll be doing the planting in-house, so this will allow us to purchase those trees.
Move to approve.
Second.
Questions?
How many trees is this going to purchase?
47 to be exact.
The additional or the whole PO?
The additional, it's a blanket for tree purchases. So we have 47 identified for our project. There'll probably be some extras that come on before we get to that mid-October, but this will give us enough funds to do that.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item we're just going to discuss here, because it's back on again, so the first initial discussion will happen this evening. This is for 18162 for a fitness room for the MCRC. Mr. Wright?
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know if this might be a little longer of a discussion, or if you want to go to the next three and then come back to it.
If that's what you wish, we could do that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, hold on then. 18163, fiscal year 2016 CHIP rehab for 240 East Union Street. Kimberly?
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Oh,
President.
okay,
This
John.
is, as you read, 240 East Union Street here in the city of Medina. It's a home rehabilitation project under our current CHIP. It is for just shy of $46,000, but it is a very extensive rehabilitation of this existing house in the city. So there is an emergency clause requested to allow for the payment to the contractor in a quicker manner than having to wait for a full ordinance, so that the contractor who, the pool of contractors that bid on these is relatively small, and they have to lay out their capital, so they don't have that capital those dollars come back in until they're paid. So this allows for them to be able to continue to bid on CHIP projects as they come through. Thank you.
Any questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 18164, purchase of a new body and cruiser camera system for police. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is to upgrade our current body camera and cruiser camera system that we're currently using. We currently use L3 Technologies. What has happened is when we first bought these cameras, L3 and VView, they're the provider. VView is the provider of our body cameras. They had a separation, essentially a divorce of the two corporations. So VView is no longer partnered with L3. We've had this system in place for 5 years now. All the equipment is end of life, and we cannot get body cameras from L3 anymore. At some point last fall, they just quit producing the actual body cameras. They advertised them. They have not delivered. The body cameras were down to 8 or 9 body cameras right now that we're sharing, and we have several car cameras that are down and not operational. We also needed to upgrade the L3 server as well. So I think the most prudent move is to go to the WatchGuard system. We researched several systems, narrowed it down to 2 that met our needs, and we picked WatchGuard because they've been in the business for 20 years. That calmed our fears of another corporate divorce or a merger. So that's why we chose that company, and that will give us 20 body cameras. The actual cameras also linked with the car cameras so that we don't have to carry a separate car camera microphone. There will be an additional cost down the road for installation of this. It is on the federal GSA contract, and we have requested the emergency clause due to the cameras that we have now are inoperable.
What are the useful life of these cameras?
Around 5 years.
So this is going to be in your next year's budget?
I'm going to budget 5 years out for this, yes.
Okay.
This one had caught me by surprise. It wasn't something that anybody had planned for or budgeted for 5 years ago. I think we have a better grasp of the life of this technology, and we now know we'll get about 5 years out of it.
And how many did you say you're getting on this one? How many cameras, body cameras? They're going to be shared, right? Some of them?
They all will be. There will be 20 body cameras and 12 car cameras, and again, the body cameras serve as the microphone for the car cameras as well. This includes the server and the redaction software for the court.
Questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. And finally, 18165, expenditure for Motorola Solutions P25 digital radio system for the police department. Chief?
This has been an issue that popped up on us here just recently and has created an emergency where we need to rectify it as quickly as possible. We've been operating on an end-of-life communication system, a UHF conventional system, for several decades. We've, over the past year, has been engaged in research to explore the possibility of moving to the P25 digital system for several years. This summer, at the beginning of the summer, we started to notice that our current system, which is run with repeaters, we have 2 repeaters, and what a repeater does is as an officer transmits on their radio, it goes to a tower that's on Progress Drive, and that tower increases the signal and boosts it out so that other officers and our dispatchers can hear that. At the beginning of the summer, that system started to degrade, and we're starting to have radio problems, and they've just increased over time. We're at the point now that there's areas in the city where there's dead spots where the officers can't communicate with dispatch. This has been somewhat compounded by the Lafayette contract, where we're a little bit further away from the city, and we're struggling to have communications with the dispatch and other officers. So since we have already done the research, we're fortunate in our geographic location that we could go to the state system, which is called the MARC system. That stands for Multi-Agency Radio Communication System. Or we can go to the sheriff's digital P25 system that they just recently deployed approximately 2 years ago. The sheriff has committed that we can join that system for free. The MARC system, currently it's a $10 fee for every single device that you have on that system. We have tested the county system. We found it to be very effective for our needs and will suffice. This request is for the actual end user equipment. It'll be for the dispatch upgrade so that we have the radios in dispatch, the cruiser upgrades for mobile radios in the cruiser, as well as portables. This does not include any infrastructure, any towers, any repeaters. That is all being taken care of by the county. And if the county does not meet our needs, or we find that it's not working for us, we can use this same equipment that we're purchasing and go to the state system. So it's all interchangeable once we get into that digital P25 format. So that's what I'm asking for tonight. The emergency clause has been requested because we're at a critical stage to where the officers aren't able to communicate. We're using a workaround right now with portables on the state MARC system in the interim.
Questions?
No, I don't. We met, Tony. I don't think there's any option. You know,
Well,
I think we're fortunate that we've got as much review done, put together ahead of time, so they can move quickly.
And you're using carry forward funds?
That's correct.
And the cost is?
The exact cost is $201,505.
And that's with the 26% discount?
Yeah,
and that's phenomenal, because Motorola usually doesn't do that.
It is. I've engaged in negotiations over the weekend, starting Thursday, with a Motorola sales manager, and we've gone back and forth, back and forth. This is on state bid, and through the negotiations, I was able to get them down to 26% below state bid on the equipment. And Motorola is the top of the line equipment, and what we were able to do was get that equipment lower than some of the other vendors that are typically cheaper than Motorola. So we were very pleased that Motorola has chosen to work with us when it comes to the pricing.
And what's the useful life on this?
Well, the particular portables we're getting are very heavy-duty radios they're weatherproof. You can throw them on the floor, so if they drop or get banged into a wall, they won't break. I would anticipate 15 to 20 years. I think the technology will probably move on before those radios.
And is this P25 is the latest technology, or is there anything else coming up that you know of?
There is nothing else that I know of coming up. P25 is the law enforcement public safety standard across the country.
Now, I have a question that I did failed to ask you today. Going digital and using this system, and I know that the county is being very generous in letting us tack onto their system. But since we will be going digital then for the rest of the city department heads, would it be easier for them, probably not to go on the county system, but to your servers, or will the rest of the department heads' radio systems eventually be able to benefit from what we're purchasing here?
They could. We don't have any servers because, again, we're out of the radio business once we make this switch. That's on someone else. That'll be on the county or the state, depending on which one we end up staying with.
Right.
So all of that infrastructure, all those costs for upgrades of a system, that's not on our plate. That's for someone else to deal with. But the sheriff did commit to allowing us, Medina Township Police, Montville Township Police, Medina Fire, and Medina LST to join the system for free. And I've had conversations with all of those entities. Medina Township Police, Medina and Montville Township Police intend on coming over onto the P25 system, and so does Mark Phillips from LST. Probably as quick as we do. They're in a very similar situation. We are.
So
probably no.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, is there any chance that the sheriff's going to change his mind sometime down the road and say, hey, cough up a couple $100,000 to help us upgrade the infrastructure?
The mayor and I have a meeting with the sheriff. He indicated that it's their system and their intent is to maintain their own system without cost to us.
Well, worst case scenario, we pay $10 per unit per month.
To the state system.
Right.
That's correct. I would never pay more than what the state system.
Yeah, what would that be? How many, I can't remember how many units you said. If you added $10 per month per
Roughly
unit.
around 8,000 a year
So, yeah,
per unit
for our
with the amount of units.
exposure.
that we're using.
Okay, that's minimal then, okay.
Right. So we know we have that as a backup. We've not had enough discussions, and Bob's out of town from fire, and I'll be gone before he gets back, so I was going to send him an email, have him hook up with Chief Kinney and tell him this makes sense to us. Just for the council's benefit, this has been a federal mandate to switch to digital that they keep delaying the deadline for, but inevitably they're going to do away with UHF frequencies, and everybody's going to have to be on digital, so we're not waiting until we're against the wall and have to do it. We're trying to get ahead of the game here.
And is it not true that one of the reasons it's being mandated is because of the loss of service, or the dropping of service, like Chief mentioned, of, I mean, it's...
That's one. The other is interoperability, where you can talk to different departments around the state, sometimes even out of state. So there's much more capabilities with the digital system than there is with the analog UHF system.
It's frequency driven as well, and that's part of the reason we're having the issues that we're having. Several years ago, they had a narrowbanding mandate, and what that did was it squeezed our talk path, our voice frequency, so that it didn't take up as much frequency spectrum, not to get really technical. But they made us squeeze that, and we had to buy new radios for that. Well, the radios we bought weren't the best in quality, so that's kind of the situation we're in now. We're mandated by the federal government to go to different radios, to narrowband. Of course, they didn't provide any funding for that mandate. So it's inevitable, eventually they're going to force us off onto the digital side. They opened up the 700 megahertz spectrum for public safety so that we're not cluttered. Right now, it's cluttered in the UHF 400 megahertz spectrum.
Now, one other question that I have is, from my history with LST, when we use the current radio system, when you keyed the mic or the portable, either one, there was a slight delay before you could actually start communicating. Is the digital going to do away with that, or is that still going to be a...
There's still a slight delay, and the radio will beep saying you have access to the system and you can talk.
Okay.
But yeah, they all the radio communications have a slight delay. Another thing to note is that we're essentially on an island. Cuyahoga County is almost all digital. Summit County is almost all digital. Wayne County is almost all digital right now, and the majority of Lorain County is moving in that direction. The county sheriff's department is digital, Seville's digital, Lodi's digital. Most of the fire departments are in the county digital system. So we knew this was coming, we were researching it. It's just because of the failure of our radio system, not only the repeaters, but our actual equipment as well. It's at a critical point right now.
Questions?
And just one more comment about, should there be some sort of problem with the sheriff's department, are you still planning on going to having a backup with the MARC system?
Yes,
Okay.
we can take all the equipment that we're investing in right now. It'll be an issue of programming, and we're on the MARC system within a few days.
Okay, but I was talking like you can have one unit dedicated to the MARC system, 24/7 for, just in case we have to have a quick interoperability with the state system somehow. So we have to get a hold of Brunswick, and they're not on this system here. We're going to have that spare or dedicated to the MARC system? Right?
One of the dispatch radios, part of this upgrade is buying new radios in dispatch, and what they're called is consolettes, and they actually look like computer servers, and they'll be down here in the basement. One will have the ability to be on MARCs.
Okay.
Once Brunswick comes on, whether they go to MARCs or the county or anybody in the county that's on MARCs, that radio will be dedicated to MARCs, and they can click two buttons up in dispatch and patch the
Okay.
two systems together. So yes, to answer your question.
Thank you.
Yes.
Would you approve with the emergency clause?
Second, including the emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now, this is on council this evening, too. So that's an addition. Okay, Mr. Wright, you're back on the stage.
Thank you. So, just a quick timeline of the fitness room addition project. It actually started back in about 2015. Kurt and I, the recreation supervisor, started talking about, what we could do different at the rec center to, one, enforce retention at the rec center, plus bring in new members. Consistently, other rec centers add on to their fitness room. Westlake did a 14,000 square foot addition 2 years back. Lakewood added on, just different places evolved. It seems to be the one thing that they all tend to add to because it's the mostly used area in the whole facility. We actually do counts every hour on the hour, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, every day, all day. And the fitness room is always the most widely used total. So ideally, that's where it came from. And 2015, we started talking about it. 2016, we started talking about it with Bob Arnold and started to introduce it to the Rec Advisory Board. Rec Advisory Board, with your portions and pieces of it every month, all the way through 2017 when we brought it to Public Properties for the first time in January of 2017. Then at that time, the schools, within a few months of the Public Properties meeting, the schools had requested that we table it, which we did, and then just recently had approved us to move forward with looking at it again. John Burkhart and Christine Qualick both serve on the Rec Advisory Board now, so that has changed a little bit, so both of them are on there and obviously aware of the project and everything that we're talking about. The project will be on the Facilities Committee meeting this Thursday.
Actually, Mike, I'm not positive that. It was supposed to be on the work session last Tuesday night, and then John is still on medical leave.
Oh.
So I know Chris was working on it today, but John's not back yet still, so.
So if it's not on the facilities meeting, then it may not be on the Board of Education meeting Monday either.
It definitely will not be on the board of meeting on Monday night. I can't see that happening.
We're not rushing. I mean, we know it's a time.
I think they wanted to talk about it at the work session and then take it to the facilities, but
Okay.
I know Dr. Qualick was working on it as I was leaving to come to this meeting today, she told me, so.
Okay. So a lot of the questions that came up, especially will be in the Facilities Committee meeting, was like cost, what are the costs of the schools, what are the costs of the city, utilities-wise. Those are a lot of questions we have answered already. Capital, or carry forward is what we'll be using for this, not capital improvements. Carry forward is what, the rec center budget is every year, and everything over above the budget that we keep rolls into a carry forward fund. That carry forward fund is about $2 million. Both of the new council members came to the rec center and toured the facility, and we talked about it, so they're both updated on that project too. In that time span, Bob has done some new numbers. The costs have gone up about 9.5%. That's still.
For how many years ago was that?
We did the numbers last year.
Yeah, it was a year ago.
Yeah.
Up 10% 1 year.
Yeah, a lot of it's been due to the tariffs and stuff that's been put on some.
It's still well within our reach and reasonable, cost-wise. Bob will talk about that a little bit, but the total now is about $626,000, give or take $15,000 for contingencies, and our cost of equipment is still $80,000 to $100,000, depending on what we spend, so it's still under a $750,000 project with a $2 million carry forward. And Bob can talk about the cost increase and where we go from there.
Yeah, basically, I think you have in front of you a breakdown of the costs. I generally, at this stage of a project, look at assemblies, looking at the different types of things that are being constructed. A wall rather than looking at a brick is the kind of idea. So as I went through and I was looking at each one of these, they all went up from a year ago, but a lot of them at different percentages. For example, gypsum is almost a 20% increase. I think it's 18%. And there's another one that's steel. I think the steel is at like almost close to 20%. And so there, or aluminum was. Sorry, it was aluminum, and that's of course the windows and stuff like that. So there's a variety of changes in there, but overall it was about a 9.5% increase over the last year. And according to the charts that I have, over the last year, the construction industry overall, in general, went up 9.6%. So it's like
So right in the ballpark.
It's right there. So, so I did that. Looking at it, I will say this because I want to make sure you understand. These are projected as if it was built like right now. So if we're looking, obviously we're looking at spring. We may have to make a projection on that, but again, that's going to be very. That's guesswork. Any of us trying to guess any of our budgets for next year is going to be tough. But in the construction industry, especially with threat of more tariffs and different things like that going on, pricing materials, and of course natural disasters and everything else play into it too. So it's always kind of a crapshoot on it. So I don't know if you have any questions on any of the numbers, but at 626,778, which is about $29.61 per square foot. There is 4,800 plus square feet in the project. So, do you have any questions?
Questions?
I guess the question that I have is, I mean, I've been a rec center member since the day it was built. I was very excited when it was built because I used to drive to the Strongville Rec Center. So, how many people are current, how many members do we have at the rec center, and has that increased, declined? Where are we with the numbers?
We're doing actually really well this year, so far up 4% revenues, but we're also 4% up expenses. A lot to do with the outdoor pool though, because that's also in our budget now. 8,500, usually about 9,000 members on average.
Okay.
So it fluctuates monthly. Depends on the EHP for the hospital, all the different things that fluctuate, but around 8,500 you can say. So being up 4% revenues now is really, really good. So I'm comfortable with the fact that, you know, the $2 million carry forward. Ideally, when we were building it, and the idea behind it was that we knew in 2022 we were going to lose 5% in income tax. It's earmarked to come back to the, you know, general fund, and we'd be running on 2% or less of the income tax at the time. So to have $1 million in carry forward on standby or, you know, reserves is ideally what I would like to keep. So above and beyond, which would be the cost of the fitness room, and you know, all that is what I'd like to use for this project.
In the addition of the fitness room, we're hoping to get more members?
Yes,
or?
Retention, to keep
Okay.
numbers that we have currently, and to, of course, attract new members, because we lost a certain percentage with the, you know, opening of Rise 3 years ago, different places. Orange Theory is opening up soon here, but won't have as much of an impact as Rise did. Orange Theory is kind of a more class-oriented, people staying together and very high cost-wise compared to us. So I'm not really concerned about that as much.
I definitely feel, I mean, this is needed just to maintain competitiveness, because, you know, there's so many new facilities opening up, mainly just for, you know, one area of fitness. But if, you know, if we lose, you know, anybody, it's, you know, you hate to do that. So for retention, it's going to help, and maybe bringing in new members too. I think you're going to have to increase what we have.
The advantage of,
I'm sorry, is this going to just be an expansion of what we currently have at the rec center, or is this going to be different equipment? different types of equipment so that it's different types of, you know, fitness. I mean, there's always a new craze coming out, so.
That's exactly right. And it's going to be functional training equipment. We don't call it CrossFit, that's a branded name, so it's functional training equipment. We did a survey on it, actually, the school's great suggestion last year, and said, hey, why don't you guys do a survey and see how many people really want it? It was 73% of the 850 people that responded that want to see the new functional training fitness room and addition. They know it's not we're not increasing the cost to them. It's all out of carry forward. The functional training, even if it goes out in the next 5 to 10 years, this is a whole nother 4,000 square feet of a room where we only have 6,000 now. So you're adding 2/3 of the size, and the equipment in there's, you know, say it's 60 to 80,000. We overestimate, say 80 to 100. In 5 years, if that's out, we can auction it and buy more cardio equipment. You know, whatever the fad is. I believe fitness will be a long time. You know, treadmills, our trainers, we're going to use them for years until they come up with something really good. The only thing we may see is using less power because we might go to more of the manpower, you know, natural powered machines where they don't need the electricity, so it actually run on, you know,
Hamster power.
Yeah. So, yeah, ideally. And the other aspect is, yeah, it'll be all new equipment in there. You know, if you've ever seen any of the suspension weight equipment, stuff like that where you use your own body weight to do the workouts. One of the things we really want to do when we built the balcony back in 2010 was we didn't realize how much noise it was going to generate, dropping of the weight, stuff like that. That 1,600 square feet of free weight equipment is going into this new fitness room, and the balcony will become more of a functional training piece of equipment also. We discussed it with the schools, just the two that are in the rec advisory board, using capital funds to, one, redo the floor up there, and two, add a large piece of equipment that's about 30 feet long that has stations all the way around it. And since it's not currently available to the patrons, we can section that off for certain use of the day for PE classes to come up and use. So say we want to designate it from 10 to 2 for just PE classes, they can run their PE classes up there and have the kids on the track, which is really the two main areas they use. So we thought that would be an advantage, you know, a good plus for the schools too, to be able to use that. And then the patrons can use it in the hours that the schools aren't scheduled to use it.
Any other questions? Well, I think we really have to find out what the schools are going to do in the workshop, I guess, and so we'll just hold it in finance because we already went through it before through public properties, and we'll just hold it until we get an answer on the direction they want to go. All right? Anything else? Anything else before finance?
Mr. Arnold.
All right, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.